welcome to the Basketball Show for episode 3. I'm Nathan Strempel, and NBL, WNBL, NBA's all underway, and we're bringing you all right here with four-time Olympian Shane Hill. A lot happening in basketball.
Massive weekend all the way across the board. I spent Sunday in front of 10 games of NBA, 3 of the NBL and 1 of the WNBA games. Big weekend.
Yeah, massive weekend of games. WNBL had a huge round, some storylines playing out there. A few surprises, teams we thought would be going well aren't, teams that we didn't think would go well are. The NBL is starting to even out. We're going to touch base today on whether Hammer's predictions for the top 8 are still what he thinks after 2 rounds. But as is, we've become accustomed to here at the Basketball Show, right here at throwbackstore.com.au, we start off by someone being under the hammer, and I'm trying to work it out. Is it the Rain Man, Sean Kemp, just not at his playing weight these days, hence the rain jacket?
Mate, you can't work it out. I am ready to play against Rajon Rondo. If you spit at me, I am ready. Don't worry about that. Got the wipers on as well. That is disgraceful. You don't spit at somebody. And if I'm Chris Paul, I would have thrown early as well. The penalty should be, don't worry about suspending him. It should just be across the board. Everyone separates. The refs come in and say, okay, free shot. You spit, you should just be allowed to go bang right on his chin, I reckon.
Well, speaking of right on the chin, Rajon just got a nice little cheapie on Chris Paul. Not exactly huge suspensions. Chris Paul got 2 games, Rajon got 3, Brandon Ingram 4 for coming in. Nice little byplay too. LeBron and Chris Paul, good mates. But
you struggling to talk to me while I did this?
I didn't want to look at you with the goggles. I was actually really hoping it was going to be a Sean Kemp reference.
But that's normal for the NBA. You can throw a punch and they get penalised financially. Maybe it's not a big percentage of their overall contract, but I think it was about $1.5 million, wasn't it, in Australian dollars anyway, that they'll miss.
I think you just need to get your hammer out and hammer Rajon so you can get the purple goggles off and we can keep going with the show.
Rajon, I don't even know where the hammer is, but he's done. That's for you, Rondo.
Get that off, because I wanted to stroke someone. Rajon, this week you got hammered.
He's done.
Rajon's been hammered. We've got to find our hammer somewhere. It's time to hand a stroke, and I know exactly who you're stroking this week looking at it. Looking at the Utah Jazz, number 2, our man Joe Ingles, a massive game against the Dubs.
The big dog, 27 points, 7 threes, wasn't it? 7 threes. He was unbelievable. And he doesn't look a day over 40, Joey. He's fantastic. He does it in slow motion, but the role that he plays for that team, and I love watching Utah play. I really do. He's one of the leaders of that team. It's like they all look up to him, and he's a bit of a king on social media and that banter and everything as well. But on the court with his defense, his ability to be able to find players, and they are a legitimate team this year.
Well, they just took it to the Golden State, who are hot favourites to win 3 championships in 4 years.
And beat them on the buzzer too, by the way. It looked like they had the game. They would have been highly disappointed, but really good start for what Utah did last year, but that start to really carry that momentum as well. And Dante was good too. That when he turned the corner, came down the lane and just smashed that thing home for a point guard, fantastic.
I was about to say that if Joey wasn't so good, we'd be talking about how good it is seeing a healthy Dante, but I like it. Doesn't look a day over 40. Donovan Mitchell calling him out this week. So
I'll hear about that, no doubt.
Yeah. Joey looking good. Joey Ingles, this week you are getting stroked and well deserved, and the Jazz coming up against the Warriors too later on. Again, a little rematch. We'll touch about that later on in the show, but for this week, Joe Ingles, you have been stroked. So we're 2 rounds into the season now. Now, already in this show, you haven't been able to find your hammer. Have you got any issues with your predictions start of the season? You predict your top 8, 1 through to 8. 2 rounds in, has anything changed your mind yet?
Well, it has. It has. And I'm not high on New Zealand at the moment. They have been disappointing so far this year, losing 2 home games. So that's going to hurt them, I think, in the long run. But Adelaide are growing on me. They're only 2-2, but the way they've played and the style and the players they've got, the pieces they've got, I think they're going to make it. And I think it is at the expense of the New Zealand Breakers. I think that the bottom 3, I think we've nailed them. I think we've got them exactly where they're at. I had Illawarra at 6. We know where you had them. And Brisbane,
I think you've nailed me. You continue to refer. You've got to call someone at last.
I'm going to, yep. And then Cairns. I think Cairns are last. I was really disappointed in them on the weekend.
You're just going to defend the fact that you like to keep publicly calling out. You have to pick someone for being last, and I want to say I'm going to own the fact that I have massive respect for the way the Hawks are playing and the way they fight. My concern is over the course of the season, where the depth is going to be an issue. Only 3 legit bigs and 2 of them now carrying ankle injuries. That's where the concern might be, and if I have to pick someone to finish last. But I'm going to say...
And how many games do you commentate down there?
And I'm going to see all the Hawks fans in Illawarra this Saturday with you. Shout out to the Hawkheads. I think New Zealand still might make the 4, give them time, but we will wait and see. Moving into the big calls, social media. Let's get a little bit social, because now the season started, NBL, WNBL, NBA, people start coming out on social and making big calls. So if we can throw up on the screen now and start off with your man, Derek Rucker came out with a big call during the week.
Yeah, friend of the show, Derek Rucker, spoke about the imports of the Brisbane Bullets, and I think he's on track. I think it's a really good comment. They only went 4 for 14 on the weekend. 4 from 14. You are kidding. He brought a couple of older names back that...
I'm going to read it. You see it on the screen, exactly what he says. Hey, Basketball AU, Brisbane Bullets imports combined for 9 points against Perth Wildcats. Without a doubt, they're the worst import trio in the league. I could roll out Steve Woodbury, Chuck Cornegay and Randy Rutherford right now and get better productivity. It's not really mixing works there from D-Ruck.
That's slight exaggeration, but I know where he's coming from. The problem that I had is that Ruben Tarangi took the most shots on the weekend. He was 3 for 14. And I like Tarangi. I think he's a solid role player, but he can't take more shots than your superstars. Your imports, Kadee, Glidden, those guys, it just can't happen. So I think they've got things a bit mixed up at the moment. I expect they'll have to make some sort of changes, because after you've finished last couple of years, they're in trouble if they don't.
No mixing words from Shane Hill, no mixing from Derek Rucker. Moving on in the socials, and Donut last week, Jason Kadee, just came at you with a little bit of a response after you called him out for not making a field goal.
He gave me a little poke of his own. You're not included in the pokes, mate, all right? So you want to be throwing that sort of stuff. But, yeah, good on you, Jace. We appreciate that. And, you know, just because he's given me that sort of advice, I haven't had a donut since he had a donut. And I'm not even going to have one tonight. So I'm going to string it on for 2 weeks on my way in a diet.
Cheers, Shane Hill, for the donut call-out. After watching the show and commentary, you might need to stay away from them for a bit. And that is a
good
youth
advice.
That's a
good
youth
advice.
Joe Ingles thing that you are fitting into.
Yeah.
No donut this week. I did a big shout out to Matt Russell, Cam Tregar, Mark Worthington for giving the Basketball Show a shout out on this Cairns game. Where they did say that Nate Jawai hadn't scored a field goal down the stretch and said that he didn't need him getting the donut this week.
Mate, the big fella, he would have been looking for half a dozen. Big Nate. He can go.
Big Nate got it done.
45 kilos of him.
So as we mentioned, no one donut worthy this week?
No donuts this week.
So moving on in the socials, great to see Laura Hodges and Tim Hodges come out, birth of their baby daughter Ava. Laura, 4-time Olympian, just another little female coming in, potentially a future green and gold rep there.
She was a superstar, 4-time Olympian. How good was she? And congratulations to them. A future Opal. Give her about 20 years, I reckon. And it'll be good to go, but great breeding. And that will be a very, very mobile 4-5 man, I would imagine.
Well,
in the future.
Yeah, Laura, obviously 4-time Olympian, joining your club. Tim's dad played a bit of NBL, a whole lot of state league, played enough state league that he played games with his older brother Ben, so they're going all right. So Laura Hodges' daughter, one of the Ingles twins, little Miller there, might be around the same age, and my daughter's a similar age too, so maybe 2 out of 3 might wear the green and gold. Moving on, homicide. It was just ongoing battle against the whole state of WA. Coming out with the most recent tweet as we go to air Monday night as we're shooting this, just saying that even when I compliment your players, you still have beef. What do you make of that ongoing conversation?
Well, it's homicide, isn't he? He's definitely got something against the Perth Wildcats. I don't agree. I think that they will make it. I think they're on fire at the moment. I think they've laid their foundations really well, but he loves to stir them up. I like sitting back and actually appreciating the banter that goes on there.
There's a bit of the banter, getting social. There's so much every week. If you see something on the socials, speaking of that, get around us. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, The Basketball Show, at Basketball AU on Twitter, The Basketball Show on Facebook, and The Basketball Show AU on Insta. Please join the conversation with us. But if you see anything interesting on Twitter, we'll pick it up as the show goes on, as we get social. Big week of games coming up. Hammer, time to preview the games this week. You
look forward to it.
Going to put your genie hat on, mate?
Oh, mate. Director Dave said he's going to sack me if I don't, but Shane Froling, my mate, another friend of the show, has told me if I wear it, he's going to belt me and Director Dave. I'm going to run with it, but he hasn't been on the end of one of his beltings, so
Well,
good luck to him.
Speaking of beltings, you brought in this poke. So Adelaide got it done against the Sydney Kings Thursday night, so I'm meant to poke you now.
Yeah, mate, I'll get it. And mate, I've got the
I'm not
airbags
gonna
in.
lie,
I've got the
I feel
airbags in.
very
I'm ready.
weird
Come
about
on,
this.
mate. Come on.
So I just poke you.
Mate.
I don't want to lose my finger in the...
Oh, mate, that is so weak. We're gonna get the paramedics here for when I poke you. Let me tell you.
Well, let's hope I keep getting my challenges right.
That was
just thought I'd play it cautiously to start with.
Oh, a few mozzies around
I
here.
feel a bit rude poking a genie. Okay, let's move into the games. Let's hope I'm not getting poked next week. Rematch from last round. Perth now travelling to Brisbane. Perth 3-0, Brisbane 1-2.
It will make no difference that it's 5 hours away because the Perth Wildcats are rolling. They're looking so good at the moment, and we've spoken about the fact that the Brisbane Bullets, they need answers. And I don't think they've actually assembled the team that's going to give them answers. So I think changes have to happen at some stage, and I'm going with Perth on this one.
All right, Adelaide at Cairns. Cairns lost their home opener, first time in 17 seasons it's happened. They're back at home now against Adelaide. Can they bounce back?
If they can't beat Illawarra at home, they're definitely not beating the Adelaide 36ers. And they play with such pace that this is going to be a high-scoring game. And I know they let in a whole lot of points. So Mike Kelly is going to be doing a lot of defensive drills this week. And their defensive transition will have to be on song because Nathan Sobey, DJ, the whole lot, they're going to be coming at them in swarms.
Romello, Trimble and Newell have started well. It's going to be interesting how they go against Sobey and Drimmick and Ramon Moore. Now, this I think is match of the round. Melbourne 2-1 going over to Perth, who are 3-0. Will have played already in Brisbane earlier in the round.
This is a flip of the coin, and Perth is in better form than Melbourne. Melbourne aren't playing their best basketball right now, and even listening to Dean Vickerman after the game in his press conference, he realises that there's still a fair bit of work to do. I'm going to pick them just because they're at home, but I think it's going to be a close game, and it wouldn't surprise me to see it go the other way.
I'm going to have to challenge something. I might just need to park that one. Let's move on. Brisbane at Illawarra. Illawarra coming off a big one. Todd Blanchfield absolutely lighting up. Alonzo G with a reputation as a stopper. Can he lock up Todd Blanchfield in Illawarra?
Well, I'm not sure that he can. I think the Illawarra Hawks, they've shown a lot of fight at the moment. I've been critical about the way the team's been built, their lack of three-point shooters on the team, and they haven't been shooting the ball well, apart from Todd Blanchfield. If you take his threes out of it, they're shooting 26% from the three-point line. But they've shown a lot of character. I loved their fight against Melbourne, and I loved their fight on the weekend against Cairns. So I think they're going to have a good home win.
Illawarra to get Brisbane now. Adelaide, after travelling to Cairns, they travel across the ditch to New Zealand, going into the round 2-2. Adelaide, we're filming this Monday. New Zealand 1-2. Adelaide obviously playing earlier against Cairns.
I think Adelaide will go and put 100+ points on them. They're going to have to tighten up at the defensive end, the New Zealand Breakers. The Sydney Kings were great last week against them, but they certainly identified some holes that they're not playing great basketball together, and I think the Adelaide 36ers can get it done.
Travel obviously not an issue. Adelaide 2-0 according to you for the round. And you didn't like tipping against them last week when they got Sydney. Maybe learn a lesson. Cairns going to Sydney. Sydney now with a win. Cairns start the round 1-1. Sydney 1-2.
I did actually pick Adelaide to lose in Melbourne though, so 1 out of 2 wasn't too bad. What are we up to? Sydney. Sydney, we don't even worry about this game. Sydney's going to take care of the Cairns Taipans. They're back. The Kings are back. Their defence was better, their intensity. They came with an intent that I expected them to come with in day one. But they hadn't done that on the defensive end. Maybe it was because they were playing against the 36ers and the pace of the 36ers and DJ and the rest of those guys, they just couldn't get it done. But a great start for the Kings, and I reckon they'll play with a lot more confidence, and I reckon they'll have a big crowd there, and I reckon they'll get the win.
And our final game of the round for the NBL, Illawarra at Melbourne, coming off playing at home against Brisbane earlier in the round.
Well, it won't be hard to build this one up considering the 4 overtimes only in round 1. So this is obviously going to be a great game. Melbourne are going to come in respecting the Illawarra Hawks, no doubt about that, because they went to battle with them for 60 minutes. But I think Melbourne will get it done. I think they'll win both, and they need to win both on the weekend. Melbourne, even though they're not playing their best, for them at home.
Just need to clarify, you said you think Melbourne will win both. I think you just tipped Perth against Melbourne first game in the round.
Nope.
Just checking.
No, tip Melbourne.
Tip Melbourne to beat Perth in
I've
Perth.
got Melbourne.
I'll just get this out of the way now,
Perth.
then. I'm going to go first.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, is that Perth at home? No, I've got Perth if it's in Perth. I thought it was in Melbourne.
No,
I've got Perth. I thought it was in Melbourne.
Take your pick because I'm going to go the other way. You got Perth at home.
In Perth.
Go United. in Perth, getting it done. Perth coming back from Brisbane, I've got to challenge something. Obviously tough to play in the jungle.
And if we do roll the tape, I did say Melbourne because I read that it was in Melbourne, but it's not in Perth. Melbourne aren't going to win that in Perth.
Well,
cut it out. I'm glad you've challenged me on that.
That's good. Well, you've called Perth to start the season 5-0 essentially. Yeah, we'll see.
Fight back.
I think there's a few people out there will be disappointed that I let the entire basketball universe that really would want to give you a poke in the cheek. I probably didn't give you enough. WNBL game of the round the TV game of the round on Fox. Brighton Sydney Uni Flames 0-3. Now they have to travel to the defending champs, the Townsville Fire, who are 1-2. Alex Bunton's been. It's almost the heir apparents versus the ones that have been there. It's Alex Bunton who started well against Susie Bakovic, multiple MVP, Wilson and Tupea versus Tess Madgen. How do you see that one? Bunton
was awesome on the weekend, and I was chopping channels. And I had a crack on Twitter. I reckon it should have been played at a different time because I'd love to watch the women's game. But I got a chance to be able to see Sydney start. Bunton was great. They were up 10 or 12 zip before the Boomers came back. I think they're going to have problems against Townsville. And I got a chance to be able to see a little bit of that Townsville-Adelaide game before I commentated in Adelaide. Townsville are going to be too good, I think.
Townsville started the season slow, but at home I think it's good. The Siren's about to wrap us up here for this section. The NBA, let's preview 3 games. First of all, the Aussies going out at Milwaukee Bucks, taking on the 76ers. Filming this on a Monday, hopefully Ben Simmons' back's all right, and he's there to take on Thon and Delhi. Yeah, well, it's been disappointing with Delhi and Thon Maker. Just haven't had the opportunities to be able to show what they can do. I'm sure over time they will get those chances. And Philly have been good at stages. Not so bad, not so good at other stages. That first game against Boston, they were well and truly outplayed. And considering they were putting a team together to come back to try and take out the East, just haven't got it done. But Ben Simmons, whilst he's been on court, has been unbelievable again. It's been very, very good, and this one's mouth-watering. The rematch after an epic game, first of all. Utah taking out the Warriors. They play once again Jazz versus the Dubs. Well, they're a bit vulnerable, and again, this is shot on a Monday. I watched Golden State lose today in Denver, and they are vulnerable at the moment. So, there's no doubt that the Jazz will believe that they can beat this team. And, hopefully Joey can get another 27 or so. Maybe he gets 28 and they win. And great to see the respect Steph Curry showing to Joey. Joey comes out, talks about being one of the best shooters in the league. Steph gets asked about it at press conference. So he should. And I love Steph's response. He goes, well, in the 2009 Summer League, the Warriors had 2 of the best shooters of all time on their team then. So nice bit of respect, Steph Curry going to Joe. That one will be great to watch. Final one we're going to preview, Spurs versus the Lakers. The Lakers obviously going through the turmoil, missing Rondo and Ingram for their respective suspensions. Paddy with an increased role at Spurs. Yeah, well, Paddy hasn't had an opportunity to do too much, or hasn't done much so far, but the Spurs are going to be there again. They've just got too good a culture. Different guys will step up for them. I think they'll be too good for the Lakers. Obviously, LeBron will do what LeBron does, but I'm just not sure he's going to have enough people in his army. All ones to watch. That's the games to check out coming up this weekend. I'm rooting on Melbourne United travelling to Perth and getting it done, because I think, have you made your mind up yet?
Yeah, I'm with Perth at home.
Okay, so
we've got clarity on that.
My cheek's really hoping that Melbourne United, the champs, can go and get it done in the jungle. Definitely one to watch. That's the games coming up this week. As we're counting down towards the close, it's time for the starting 5. You're on the shot clock, Shane. The 5 best questions of the issues this week, starting with, what do you make of the Anthony Drimmick and Chris Goulding incident? The elbow, is what you're saying? Are you asking whether he meant to elbow him? Or the headbutt to his elbow, yeah. However you want to have a look at it. There's no doubt that Anthony Drimmick tried to make contact. When you're on the ground and you've got the ball and you're trying to actually get people away from you, because that's one rule I don't like these days, is that as soon as you touch it, they just call automatic jump ball. So there's no doubt he was trying to make contact. Whether he was trying to actually elbow him in the face, I'm not sure about that. But there was definitely intent to be able to make contact. So I'll let him. I've done that. I don't think any less of him for that. Definitely a bit to say too. No shaking hands after the game, so that'll be one to watch in the rematch. Now, moving on. Brian Conklin doing what looked like a serious ankle injury, pushing back to come back on court, get the win for the Hawks. Most inspirational performance of the week. Hold on, before we start the clock, was that planned, bringing a Conklin thing after an elbow? Was that a plan? I don't write the script. I just look at Director Dave over there. All right. Conklin was unbelievable. I saw him go over, and when you jump in the air and you come down your ankle and you seriously turn it like that, that's a lot of pain. He will have really swelled up afterwards, went and got it retaped.
but that's a courageous effort, understanding that he really wanted his team to get a win. I love that from an import, that he is passionate enough and cares enough about his team to come back and get that W. All respect.
Yeah, no question about the passion of the Hawks. Adrice DeLeon, from the start of the season, you've stated that he's been talented but been very hot and cold. Does this weekend do anything to change that?
Well, I think we've seen it in a nutshell. I mean, my man Homicide, he will go on about him being from New York and how good he was, and he was amazing in that first game. He hit 6 threes, but that's what we're going to see. He is going to be great at stages, and other stages he's going to make bad decisions, and he's going to get 2 points, 1 from 6 from the field, like we saw against Melbourne. Joey Wright knows what he's getting, though, so he understands that. He'll deal with that, and they'll get through it. It would frustrate the hell out of me, though.
Strong statement, no change over the weekend. Andrew Bogut came out with some strong statements about flopping. What do you make of it?
How good was it? I love the fact that he says what he thinks. And, he's coming from a league where he thinks that it's called a little bit soft here. So that's a great point for him to be able to get across without, hanging on the referees. He just said he needs to be able to learn to flop a little bit more. So they got through it. They got the win. Everyone had some fun with it. Even the NBL retweeted it. So I guess it's okay.
Final one in the starting 5. Match of the round, Melbourne, Adelaide, right down the wire. 3 points in it, 4 seconds left. What do you make of the final call with Melbourne inbounding from the front court into the back court?
The final no call. I mean, they missed it. They missed it. And mistakes are going to be made. That's a bad mistake. But what I love is the NBL came out today and acknowledged that it was a mistake. So we can actually understand that. The referee made a mistake. No doubt he'll watch the video. He won't do it again, and we can move on. There was another bad one too in Adelaide. The Sydney Kings should have gone to the free throw line for 2 shots, and the bench didn't call it. The referees probably should have known, but it's the bench's job to have the flag up and to be yelling out 2 free throws. Not good enough, that one.
Couple of close games. Big calls that maybe affected it. That's the starting 5 this week. And as we're coming towards the close here, it's time to just touch on 2 rounds in, who's hot and who's not.
Well, Mello was hot again. He didn't get over that 33. I don't think he's going to get over that. But, I had a good crack at it. Averaging 28 points a game for Cairns, so he was good. Sobey has been unbelievable this year. Making that transition to a point guard, 20 points a game. He's shooting 51%, and he's got 23 assists to only 6 turnovers. Probably the best stat out of his stat line for the season. And Todd Blanchfield, 20 points a game, shooting the 3 ball at 50%. And if there's anything the Hawks need, it's that 3 ball. And he's been able to stand up. Hasn't been consistent because he had 2 great games wedged with that bad one over in Perth. But they're going to need him to continue to do that for the rest of the year.
Yeah, hot.
Why am I wearing this, mate? I'm done with this. Why am I?
Shane Frolling's going to be
I'm going to get double punches. You're going to remind me of that.
That's actually looking really sharp. I just enjoyed the show. So that's who's hot, and you're not very hot for leaving that on, but who else is not hot?
Well, not hot is Devon Hall. 5 points a game. He is 3 from 18 from the field. He is ice cold, and 2 from 13 from threes. So when you lose a game at home like that, in a game that you're expected to win if you're going to really push for the playoffs, and it's your first, go at this club as an import, that's not good. Casper Ware, if we were seeing Casper Ware for the first time, we'd be doubting that he's a very good player. And we know he's a great player. He's one of the league's best players because he's proven. He's won championships and he's been amazing over the years. But he's shooting 23%, 17% from threes, and he's got 14 assists to 11 turnovers. So you would expect over time he's going to be able to turn that around because he's all class.
Still top 5 in assists and steals, but definitely not shooting at the high level we expect of him.
But still, 14 assists to 11 turnovers is not good enough. We just spoke about Sobey, 23 assists to 6 turnovers. So his floor game's not good enough either. Don't worry about just that. He's not playing his game that he needs to be able to play.
There's nothing surer when you say someone's not hot, they're coming out of a big game this week. So watch for Casper Ware to get it done as United travel over to Perth and get the win there, which would be great to see. I'll get another poke, 2 from 2. And also, who else did you call out? Devon Hall, who I think I saw him in the Blitz and I thought he was great. So young guy, freshly drafted. Watch for those 2 this week.
I'm not sure we're calling them out. I think what we're stating is what they've done so far. Yeah. So everyone's got the opportunity to be able to go and do their job and be able to improve their stats and do what they do. So we hope they do.
We look forward to watching it this week. That's all we've got time for this week on The Basketball Show. We appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for being with us right here at thethrowbackstore.com.au. Join the conversation on social media too, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We love your interaction. Throw your questions at Shane the Hammer Heel. Throw in your video, highlight videos if you're a young ball and you want to get featured. Anything anything you'd like to see in the show, we'd love to know. But Shane, thanks a lot for joining us once again this week.
Another great episode. We appreciate your support.
Shane Lyle, see you down in Illawarra this week too. Illawarra and Brisbane, tune into that one as I join Hammer on the call, and we'll have a bit of fun there, and the Hawkheads will get right around their main man. Thanks for joining us here on The Basketball Show. We'll see you again next week.